The WHO, that's the World Health Organization, receives vast amounts of money from the United States, and we pay for a majority, a biggest portion of their money. And they actually criticized and disagreed with my travel ban at the time I did it. And they were wrong. They've been wrong about a lot of things. And they had a lot of information early, and they didn't want to, they seemed to be very China-centric. And we have to look into that. So we're going to look into it. We give a majority of the money that they get. And it's much more than the $58 million is a small portion of what they've gotten over the years. Sometimes they get much more than that. Sometimes it's for programs that they're doing, and it's much bigger numbers. And if the programs are good, that's great as far as we're concerned. But we want to look into it. World Health Organization, because they really are, they called it wrong. They called it wrong. They missed the call. They could have called it months earlier. They would have known. And they should have known, and they probably did know. So we'll be looking into that very carefully, and we're going to put a hold on money spent to the WHO. We're going to put a very powerful hold on it, and we're going to see. It's a great thing if it works, but when they call every shot wrong, that's no good. We're in the midst of a great national struggle, one that requires the shared sacrifice of all Americans. In recent weeks, it's been remarkable to see so many companies and organizations and individuals, like the banks that I just told you about, biggest banks in the world. They stepped up to help small business. They're big business, small business. The small business will someday be the big business. But the small business is 50% of our economic strength. People don't realize when you add them up, but they just rose to the occasion. Everybody's rising to the occasion. It's been incredible to watch. To honor and celebrate the extraordinary examples of patriotism and citizenship, I'm asking Americans to use the hashtag America Works Together.
From Channel 9 Australia, there have been calls in our country for Prime Minister Scott Morrison to make funding for WHO conditional on reforms to the organisation. Wanted to get your thoughts on that, and if you had any advice for Mr. Morrison.
Look, I feel very badly about the World Health Organization, but it's been a tool of China. It's been, as I say, totally China-centric. You take a look at everything that's happened, they've been wrong. I was all for it at the beginning. What do I know? I walked in, I said, World Health Organization, isn't that wonderful? And then you start to see all the mistakes. They didn't want us to close our borders to China, to Wuhan. Specifically, they didn't want our borders closed. You take a look, Mike was there, we're all there, and they're criticizing me for closing the border. I did that very early. By the way, I did that very early while Nancy Pelosi was trying to have in San Francisco parties in Chinatown because she thought it would be great. She wanted to show that this thing doesn't exist. These are people, I'll tell you, we have some politicians on the other side that don't know what they're doing. If you look at timelines, you got to look at some timelines. But the World Health Organization, just like the World Trade Organization, I'm telling you, I call them, they have been treating the United States for decades so badly, and they've been so in favor of China. China took off when it joined the World Trade Organization because of what's happened. Think of it. They're considered a developing nation, and because and we're not. Well, we're a developing nation too in my book, okay? We're developing too. But the fact is, we have been treated so badly by these organizations, and believe me, I'm looking at that one too. We're winning a lot of lawsuits right now that we never won before in the past. We're winning a lot of money that we never won in the past. That's with the World Trade. But with the World Health Organization, what's happened there is a disgrace. Here's the other thing. We pay $400 to $500 million a year. China's paying $38, $39, and $40 million a year. And it's like they control this group. I could do that too if I wanted to devote full time to it or have some very capable people dealing with Dr. Tedros, okay? I could do it too. I could do very well with that. But there's something going on. There's something going on that's very bad. Now, the $500 million that we save, we're going to make a determination over a little period of time. But they're going to either have to make massive changes. I don't even know if they're going to be able to do that. or we're going to give money to people. We want to help people. You know what we do in Africa with AIDS? People have no idea what we do and the money we spent. We were talking about it the other day, Doctor. We are spending billions of dollars to help people. In the case of one that Dr. Birx is very much involved in, AIDS, billions of dollars. And you know what? It's a great thing. Nobody talks about it. Nobody gives us credit. We do that, and we do it very directly. But we're spending billions of dollars to help people live, and all over the world. But we're spending $500 million to the World Health Organization, and there's something very bad going on. And you know what? I've gotten very much involved. It's been going on for a long period of time, and we don't want to be the sucker.
Week that the coronavirus likely came from a level 4 lab in Wuhan. There's also another report that the NIH, under the Obama administration in 2015, gave that lab $3.7 million in a grant. Why would the U.S. give a grant like that to China?
The Obama administration gave them a grant of $3.7 million. I've been hearing about that, and we've instructed that if any grants are going to that area, we're looking at it literally about an hour ago, and also early in the morning. We will end that grant very quickly, but it was granted quite a while ago. They were granted a substantial amount of money. We're going to look at it and take a look, but I understand it was a number of years ago, right?
So you are.
When did you hear? When did you hear was the grant was made?
2015.
2015. Who was president then? I wonder.
China now says its coronavirus death toll in Wuhan is 50% higher,
Yep.
up to about 4,000. Does that sound like a credible number to you?
Well, you know, when I listen to the press every night saying we have the most, we don't have the most in the world deaths. The most in the world has to be China. It's a massive country. It's gone through a tremendous problem with this, a tremendous problem, and they must have the most. So today I saw they announced that essentially they're doubling up on the numbers, and that's only in Wuhan. They're not talking about outside of Wuhan. So it is what it is, Steve. It is what it is. What a sad state of affairs.
Investigation into whether the virus escaped from this lab in Wuhan, how active is that, and when do you
Well,
expect
we're
to hear?
looking at it. A lot of people are looking at it. It seems to make sense. They talk about a certain kind of bat, but that bat wasn't in that area. If you can believe this, that's what they're down to now is bats. But that bat is not in that area. That bat wasn't sold at that wet zone. It wasn't sold there. That bat is 40 miles away. So a lot of strange things are happening, but there is a lot of investigation going on, and we're going to find out. All I can say is wherever it came from China, in whatever form. 184 countries now are suffering because of it. And it's too bad, isn't it? And it could have been solved very easily. When it was just starting, it could have been solved really very easily.
Some of your allies are calling for China to be stripped as host of the 2022 Olympics. Wondering what you make of that. Is that something that you would consider, or?
So I just made a deal with China where they're going to put in $250 billion of product. They're going to be buying 50 from 40 to 50 billion in farm. I want to see what's happening with China. I want to see how they're doing on it. Are they fulfilling the deal, the transaction? We have a lot of discussions going on with China. Let me just put it this way. I'm not happy, okay? I'm not happy. And I spoke to them, and this could have been shut down a long time ago. They knew it, and we couldn't get in, and in all fairness, World Health couldn't get in, and that's why I wish they took a different stance. They took a very pathetic stance and a very weak stance, but they say they couldn't get in. But ultimately, they got in. They got in much sooner than anybody, but they didn't report what was happening. They didn't report what was happening inside of China. No, I'm not happy with China.
Mr. President, I wanted to ask Dr. Fauci, could you address these suggestions or concerns that this virus was somehow man-made, possibly came out of a laboratory in China? You studied this virus. What are the prospects of that?
There was a study recently that we can make available to you where a group of highly qualified evolutionary virologists looked at the sequences there and the sequences in bats as they evolve, and the mutations that it took to get to the point where it is now is totally consistent with a jump of a species from an animal to a human. So, I mean, the paper will be available. I don't have the authors right now, but we can make.
When the nations of the world met to form the United Nations in 1945, one of the first things they discussed was establishing an organization to protect and promote the health of the world's people. They expressed that desire in the constitution of WHO, which says that the enjoyment of the highest attainable standard of health is one of the fundamental rights of every human being without distinction of race, religion, political belief, economic or social condition. That creed remains our vision today. The United States of America has been a long-standing and generous friend to WHO, and we hope it will continue to be so. We regret the decision of the President of the United States to order a halt in funding to the World Health Organization. With support from the people and government of the United States, WHO works to improve the health of many of the world's poorest and most vulnerable people. WHO is not only fighting COVID-19, we're also working to address polio, measles, malaria, Ebola, HIV, tuberculosis, malnutrition, cancer, diabetes, mental health, and many other diseases and conditions. We also work with countries to strengthen health systems and improve access to life-saving health services. WHO is reviewing the impact of our work of any withdrawal of US funding, and will work with our partners to fill any financial gaps we face and to ensure our work continues uninterrupted. Our commitment to public health, science, and to serving all the people of the world without fear or favor remains absolute. Our mission and mandate are to work with all nations equally, without regard to size of their populations or economies. COVID-19 does not discriminate between rich nations and poor, large nations and small. It does not discriminate between nationalities, ethnicities, or ideologies. Neither do we. This is a time for all of us to be united in our common struggle against a common threat, a dangerous enemy. When we're divided, the virus exploits the cracks between us. We're committed to serving the world's people and to accountability for the resources with which we're entrusted. In due course, WHO's performance in tackling this pandemic will be reviewed by WHO's member states and the independent bodies that are in place to ensure transparency and accountability, for that matter, involving all responders. This is part of the usual process put in place by our member states. No doubt, areas for improvement will be identified, and there will be lessons for all of us to learn. But for now, our focus, my focus, is on stopping this virus and saving lives. WHO is grateful to the many nations, organizations, and individuals who have expressed their support and commitment to WHO in recent days, including their financial commitment. We welcome this demonstration of global solidarity. because solidarity is the rule of the game to defeat COVID-19. WHO is getting on with the job. We're continuing to study this virus every moment of every day. We're learning from many countries about what works, and we're sharing that information with the world.
Our U.S. government works to combat the global pandemic. It is absolutely essential that the key positions at relevant federal agencies are fully staffed, and we're not allowing that to take place through our Congress. They're just not giving it to us. We have many positions that are unstaffed because we can't get the approvals. The Democrats are holding us up. We cannot get approval. We've gotten judges because we go through the process. I guess we're up to 448 federal judges, and that we've gotten because we focus on it. We take the maximum time because no matter who the judge is, they take vast numbers of days and hours to approve, and it leaves no time left for others. Very unfair system. If a judge is going to be approved in 1 hour in one session, it doesn't matter. They'll take the maximum number of hours and days. You're talking about days to get one judge approved. And we're close to 250 judges, but because of the way they're doing it, there's no time for anybody else. And many of these people have been waiting for 2.5 years. We have a couple that have been waiting for longer than that. There are currently 129 nominees stuck in the Senate because of partisan obstruction. Many are nominated for vacancies that must be filled to assist with the coronavirus crisis and the resulting economic challenges. And I've read over the couple of years, well, I didn't fill positions. I don't fill positions. In some cases, we don't need the position, and I'm all for that. But in many cases, you do, but we can't get them approved by the Democrats. They won't release them. The positions include the Director of National Intelligence, 2 members of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, the Assistant Secretary of Treasury for Financial Markets of the United States, and the Undersecretary of Agriculture responsible for administering food security programs. And Sonny Perdue, who's going to be speaking today, is saying, please, can I have this man, can I have this particular person approved as soon as possible? He's been telling me that for a long time, and the Democrats won't allow it to happen. Again, every single judge, every nominee we have goes through maximum, or at least they go through a long process. So it takes days and days, and there's no time left, and it's just a concerted effort to make life difficult. An example is Michael Pack. He's my nominee for the CEO of the Broadcasting Board of Governors, and he's been stuck in committee for 2 years, preventing us from managing the Voice of America. Very important. And if you heard what's coming out of the Voice of America, it's disgusting. What things they say are disgusting toward our country. And Michael Pack would get in. He'd do a great job, but he's been waiting now for 2 years. Can't get him approved. The Senate has left Washington until at least May 4th. The Constitution provides a mechanism for the president to fill positions in such circumstances. The recess appointment, it's called. The Senate's practice of gaveling into so-called pro forma sessions where no one is even there has prevented me from using the constitutional authority that we're given under the recess provisions. The Senate should either fulfill its duty and vote on my nominees, or it should formally adjourn so that I can make recess appointments. We have a tremendous number of people that have to come into government, and now more so than ever before because of the virus and the problem. We have to do it, and we have to do whatever we have to do. They've made it very difficult to run government. I don't think any administration has done anywhere near what we've done in 3.5 years. But every block, every week, they put up roadblocks. Whether it's Russia, or whether it's impeachment hoax, or whatever it may be, it's always roadblocks and a waste of time. If the House will not agree to that adjournment, I will exercise my constitutional authority to adjourn both chambers of Congress. The current practice of leaving town while conducting phony pro forma sessions is a dereliction of duty that the American people cannot afford during this crisis. It is a scam what they do. It's a scam, and everybody knows it, and it's been that way for a long time. And perhaps it's never done before. It's never been done before. Nobody's even sure if it has, but we're going to do it. We need these people here. We need people for this crisis, and we don't want to play any more political games. I've been waiting for 2.5 years, 3 years for some of these people, and they're great people. They left law firms. They left jobs. They gave up everything to do it, and they've been waiting for 3 years, 2.5 years, 2 years, 1 year to get approved. It's ridiculous. And everyone knows they're going to be approved. But there's only so many hours in the day when you go through judges and you go through lengthy hearings on judges that they know should be approved immediately, and they could do it in one session, and they could do it in 1 hour. And instead it takes them many days. In order to advance the health and security of our nation and all nations, as we announced yesterday, the U.S. government has put a hold on funding to the WHO, World Health Organization, pending a review of the organization's cover-up and mismanagement of the coronavirus outbreak. Over the objections of the WHO, we took decisive action and early life-saving action to suspend travel from China. They didn't want to do it. They were angry that we did it. It was early on. They were angry that we did it. Took them a long time to realize what was going, but I have a feeling they knew exactly what was going on. Tragically, other nations put their trust in the WHO, and they didn't do any form of ban. And you see what happened to Italy. You see what happened to Spain. You see what happened to France. WHO's guidance had failed to control their borders at a very crucial phase, quickly unleashing the contagion around the world. That was a horrible, tragic mistake, or perhaps they knew. I'm sure they didn't know the gravity of it, but perhaps they knew. Because if they knew the gravity, that would be an even worse offense. To ease the economic pain of millions of American families, we've now processed $300 billion in loans to more than 1 million small businesses through the Paycheck Protection Program. This action has saved millions of American jobs. It's been an incredible success, and they want to replenish it now, but again, the Democrats don't want to do that. This is money that goes to the workers of our country. Phase 1 was $350 billion, and now Phase 2, we want to do $250 billion. This goes to workers, and it goes to small businesses, so we can save all the small businesses around our nation. Mike McFarland.